Branford kind, dubbed by quite a few writers as one of the ugliest cars ever built. The 1957 Aurora prototype was designed by Father Alfred Juliano, a Catholic priest in Branford, not necessarily the product of divine intervention. Giuliano's purpose was to create the world's safest automobile. With money contributed by his Connecticut congregation, FR, Giuliano wanted to build a car and make it available to American automakers to put into production. As it turns out, the guys were not with him and the project went bankrupt after creating just a single prototype. The Aurora prototype was built on a 1953 Buick frame from a wrecked car using fiberglass over a plywood superstructure with plastic windows. The body would therefore be corrosion and dent proof. On the safety side, the car had a built-in roll cage, seat belts, a padded instrument panel, a collapsible steering wheel, and side impact bars. Even the spare tire was housed under the front end of the vehicle to help absorb impacts. The front end had a cow catcher sort of design filled with foam to scoop up pedestrians instead of running them over. Perhaps most innovative was that the seats were designed to swivel 180 degrees and face backwards should a collision be imminent. Apparently, when FR Giuliano brought the car to New York City in 1957 for its reveal, he didn't consider that the Buick engine hadn't been started for more than 4 years and the car broke down multiple times during the journey. The company's finances were called into question, but in fact, Farr Giuliano had gone deeply into personal debt financing the company and eventually declaring bankruptcy, forfeiting the prototype to a repair shop as collateral for unpaid repair bills. It passed through several hands before Ford finally being abandoned behind the Cheshire Auto Body Shop in 1967. Giuliano died of a brain hemorrhage in 1989 in Philadelphia. In 1993, the car was discovered by British car enthusiast Andy Saunders of Poole, Dorset, in a sketch in a book about dream cars. It was so ugly, it was unreal. I said straight away, I've got to own that. After several years of searching, he eventually tracked the car down by the name of the garage in the background of a photograph of the car, purchased it sight unseen for $1,500 and had it shipped to Britain for another $2,000. The fiberglass and wood structure of the car proved to have deteriorated terribly from exposure, as well as the interior and plastic windshield. Restoration was further complicated by a lack of adequate documentation or even photographs of the car, the absence of the late Father Giuliano to assist as a consultant, and the lack of replacement parts for a prototype vehicle. However, restoration was completed in early 2005, and the car was unveiled to a newly astounded public at the Goodwood Festival of Speed and is now on display in the Beaulieu Motor Museum, Hampshire, England. The Aurora is arguably the first experimental safety vehicle ever made, even before the coinage of the ESV acronym. It is fitting that our feature car was designed by a Roman Catholic priest. Catholic small c means universal, and to the best of my knowledge, no design has been so universally reviled. Is it merely ugly? No, and Aztec is merely ugly. This is anglerfish ugly. Deliverance ugly. It has a face not even Mother Teresa could have loved. It is what would have emerged from the studio of Captain Ahab had taken up car design. The man behind the car, Alfred A. Giuliano, was born on December 19th, 19 to Louis and Catherine Giuliano of Philadelphia. As a youth, he showed a keen interest in the arts and sciences, particularly those pertaining to automobile design. However, young Alfred decided to pursue a higher calling and in 1932 joined the Order of the Holy Ghost Junior Seminary in Cornwall Heights, Pennsylvania, to begin his clerical studies. Meantime, and somehow, a few of his sketches had come to the attention of someone at GM, which in 1938 offered him a scholarship to study with Harley Earl. Perhaps Julian would have benefited from a long talk with Mr. Earl, but in any case, he was committed to fulfilling his ordination and staying at the seminary. For the next 3 years, Giuliano taught physics and served as chaplain at Virginia's St. Emma Military Academy, where new professional connections led him to experts in other resources and design-related fields. And as fate would have it, his order soon appointed Father Giuliano to the post of assistant pastor at St. Mary's Church in Branford, Connecticut. While there, he enrolled at nearby Yale University, where he pursued both a doctorate degree in aerodynamics and his dream of designing the world's safest car. After 2 years at the drawing board and 3 years of construction, Father Giuliano's Aurora safety car prototype was at last real. Whether by design, coincidence, or indifference, the Aurora styling and construction distinctly recalled those of watercraft. Its 18-foot long, 100% fiberglass body perched over a largely wooden skeleton, which itself sat atop the salvaged chassis of a 1953 Buick Master, was advertised impervious to dents and corrosion. It was topped with a gigantic transparent plastic greenhouse, literally that provided a nearly 360-degree view, albeit quite a distorted one. The headliner was fitted with metallic sunshades that blocked out the rays but were likely to cook the cabin on a hot, sunny day. One reason why Giuliano planned to offer air conditioning as standard equipment. The car's bulging windshield, which resembled the head of a B movie space alien, was designed to reduce head injuries by increasing the distance between it and the car's occupants in the pre airbag era. It was probably as good a solution as was available. And in all fairness to Father Giuliano and his prototype, the Aurora presaged several safety features that would eventually be included in virtually all modern cars, among them seat belts, a padded instrument panel with recessed gauges, side impact bars, and integrated roll cage, and a collapsible steering column. The Aurora's four occupants sat in individual captain's chairs that they could swivel 180 degrees in the event of an impending collision. Switch controlled, frame mounted hydraulic jacks provided assistance when changing a tire, a La Citroen DS. The spare tire was mounted on a platform ahead of the radiator in order to enhance front impact protection and could be lowered to the ground via a switch on the dashboard. The front end itself was essentially a huge foam stuffed bumper that was designed to scoop up inattentive pedestrians without injuring them, at least in theory. Despite its innovative protective features, it is no surprise that today the Aurora is remembered for its looks. It tops the list of the world's ugliest cars with the same consistency that Chinese crested win ugly dog contests. Although the undulating surfaces embodied by Rubbermaid were meant to increase the fiberglass body's rigidity, Father Giuliano apparently liked what he saw. He was quoted in several interviews as saying that the American people won't pay for safety, but they will pay for style. And pay they would have to, since the Aurora's projected price was $15,000, some $2,000 more than the E Plus Ultra Cadillac. On November 11, 1957, Father Giuliano drove his prototype for the first time, starting out for a Midtown Manhattan hotel, the first stop on what was to be a 120-city press tour. According to automotive journalist Michael Lamb, the Aurora's maiden voyage was somewhat less than triumphant. On its way from Branford, Connecticut to Manhattan, the Aurora broke down no fewer than 15 times. It had to be towed to 7 different garages and repair shops along the way. Why? Because during the 3 years that Father Giuliano was building the Aurora's huge, curvilinear fiberglass body, the car's engine hadn't once been started. In those 3 years, water got into the gas tank, and on the trip to Manhattan, rust clogged the fuel line. No sooner would Father Giuliano clear out the rust flakes than the fuel system would stop up again. Father Giuliano called the hotel manager to say he was running a bit late and that the intro, originally set for 8 a.m., would probably take place closer to noon. Most of the assembled reporters waited until early afternoon before heading back to their offices. Around 3 p.m., Giuliano called the hotel again, this time from Harlem, to report a dead battery and a further delay. Finally, about an hour later, he arrived at the hotel with the Aurora, but by that time, the assembled press corps had dwindled to a TV crew and 2 print reporters. Subjecting already cynical reporters to an over 8-hour wait does not exactly set the stage for favorable reporting, and the press coverage was predictably unkind. Dream car arrives from Connecticut after nightmare of breakdown, headlined the next day's The New York Times. The Bridgeport Post led with auto built by priests for safety perils traffic. Neither paper went into much detail about the car's many safety features, but they spared neither words nor photos when it came to its unusual appearance. Things went downhill from there. Inevitably, the Catholic Church and the IRS and perhaps a couple of grudge-holding reporters began scrutinizing Father Giuliano's finances following the Aurora's disastrous debut. Like many Catholic priests, Reverend Giuliano was bound by a vow of poverty and quickly spent the small amount of money he did have.